I like salad. Do you like salad?
Hi, I'm Hostion Ho. I'm living in Vancouver, BC, Canada, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I'm an immigrant to Canada from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea coming to you from Victoria, but more importantly known as unceded Akwesasne territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I am an immigrant from the United States of America. And you're listening to
Canadian Salad.
Canadian Salad. Hi, Hoshin. How are you?
Hi, I am doing great. Fantastic. How are you?
I am doing lovely. I think your voice sounds really amazing today.
Oh, really? Is it because I get older?
It's getting lower. It's very nice. It's very commanding. You know, lower voices are very they grab your attention.
Oh, I know. It's like, I know. This kind of theory say, I think I read this book on Lenin also talk about that, about like lower Westchester kind of voice, kind of give people the idea of the feeling of leadership or something.
Oh,
I
interesting.
read it
That makes
somewhere.
sense. I mean, Google, I have the Google Home little
Yeah.
circle speaker thing, and it always responds to Mark. It
Oh,
never really responds to me. It totally is in tune with lower.
sexist.
Yes, Google is sexist.
Sexist.
I'm telling you. Be like, hey, Google, what time is it? Dead silence. And then, hey, Google, what time is it? It is 5:22. Even
Google's
the
like,
computer, she's
a
like,
woman?
misogynistic. No.
Yeah, never heard of her.
So rude, so rude.
Oh,
Well,
I'm so
we're back
sorry.
for, it's okay. It's okay. I hug myself every night. But we are here for another episode.
Yay.
Yes, another full episode, not a dishes out, even though those are short, lovely, and sweet. But today we're going to unpack Canadian values and why this is in even a topic right now, and why should it even be
Interesting.
up for debate? Yeah, Canadian values. Yeah,
Canadian value.
yeah.
Interesting. I don't know what that
Mm.
is. Never heard of her.
Very good question. Yes.
Who is
It's a very
she?
good, yeah. Who is she? What dress does she wear? Where does she go on Friday nights? So there was an article that recently came out. It was the Ledger report, and the title of the report was called "Is the Future Bright?" It came out April, I think, of this year, and it polled like 900 people between the ages of 18 to 39. So Gen Z and millennials, right? So those are your
Me.
two groups. Yeah, you.
Mhm.
And then kind of me. I'm kind of on the millennial, like I was born in 1981. Anyway, I'm up for debate. So they did a poll and they asked a question about should immigrants come to Canada with sharing common Canadian values? And over 70% said yes, that immigrants need to come to Canada and need to be polled and actually screened on their values before they come here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was very interesting because when I looked at the question, the only example they gave of for values was, quote, respect for different minority groups, end quote.
That is so the hypocrisy in that question.
Do you know who's coming? Like, do you know the immigrant level? Do you know the number, like top 3 countries that immigrants are coming from? I can guarantee you it's not the United States or Europe. Okay.
It's so
Come
funny.
on.
I know the questionnaire itself kind of contradicts itself, huh? It
It
asks
really does.
the Canadian value, the only example they give is about respect of, multiculturalism. And yet they said, oh, we should screen immigrants. We'll see whether they're Canadian enough.
Right. And I'm glad it's 70% agreed, that actually think that this is a value. I think that's good, that respect for
That's
different
good.
minority groups, that's good. But at the same time, it's just like, what is a Canadian value? Like, I don't know what
I don't understand either.
that is. Is that,
I don't know
yeah,
either. I remember someone asked me that question before, and
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Even
You want
now, I
to,
don't know.
yeah. I'll unpack a little bit of kind of Canada's defined their values, quote unquote, in like some recent surveys and statistics. But honestly, it's kind of like Canadian value to what? Just live your life, have a job, and be happy with your family? I mean, that's
Or
like a world value.
maybe the love for poutine. You have to have
Oh, that's
and
it.
maple
It's the love
syrup.
for
Yeah.
poutine and maple
And
syrup.
maple syrup.
Yeah, and
Yes.
saying A after everything. That's got to be it. Those
Yeah.
are the
And
values.
hockey. You have
And
to love
hockey.
hockey. Oh my God, hockey season. I don't know what that is.
They almost made it to the Stanley Cup though this year. They were so
Oh,
close.
I love that you know that.
I only know that because they were playing a US team and it was Florida, and I don't want anything in Florida to win. So I was just totally rooting for a Canadian team,
Oh my
the
God.
Oilers, and they didn't. Anyway, all that to say, but yes, Canadian value, it's like if we look at what makes Canada Canada,
I
I'm
don't
just
know. For me, because I'm gay, if I really have to say something, maybe like,
okay,
like queer rights, I guess. We
okay,
will have
sure.
to say
Yeah,
something.
that's a good,
Um,
yeah, theory.
yeah, because Canada is, I think, the third country. I think it's the third country to have like gay rights
Yeah,
for same-sex marriage, I think.
okay,
So I
yeah,
guess that makes Canada one of the earliest.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's all I can think of.
I mean, when I think of Canadian values, I think wide open spaces just to kind of roam, just to kind of and honestly, anytime I think of Canadian
Uh,
value, I imagine like literally a cowboy in Saskatchewan with like tall wheatgrass just surrounding him. And he's got the big belt buckle. He's like, it's Canada, hey. I don't know. That's what I feel like is a Canadian value. I don't know. I mean, we're not going to leave you hanging. I won't leave you hanging because I'm going to go into what is a Canadian value. But I just
okay,
thought it
please
was
do.
very interesting that this was a question that people are really like seriously about immigrants having. So there was a Stats Canada released some data back in February of 2023. And it was basically a massive survey of both immigrants to Canada and Canadian born people, basically taking a pulse on how people see certain values. So I will tell you what the values they listed on this study. Okay. First one, human rights. So good job, Ocean. You
Hmm.
got one. Respect for the law. Okay. That's kind of, I don't know what respect
I think
really
it very. I mean, respectful isn't like bait. Like I think every. I guess you have to. Isn't
well,
this
who's going to
the
come to another
basic?
country to disobey it? Come on. Who wants to go back?
I know. I don't know why there's a
Nerve.
value. Isn't this just like
Is
given?
common sense? Yeah,
I think it's a
exactly.
given.
Exactly. I don't know if that's a
It's
value.
like breathing. It should be a value.
I went poop. I value pooping. The third one, gender equality. So that's good. That's good.
Okay, that.
Okay. Linguistic duality is number 4.
What is duality? I mean, I think they mean French and English.
Thank you. That's it. They're not wanting
Yeah.
people that speak Spanish and Croatian.
No, I think it means that respecting that Canada speaks French and English. I think that's
Yes.
literally it. Which
You are bingo. You're spot on because that was
one of
outlined in the
it.
study.
Okay.
Yes. Ethnic and cultural diversity.
Okay,
Okay.
I can see
That's
that.
a good
Yeah.
value. That's a
I
very good
mean, even the
value.
questionnaire that you gave example mentioned that
It
specifically,
did.
cultural
It did.
diversity. Yeah.
Yes. And then respect for Indigenous cultures, the 7th value,
Okay.
or the
Yes, that
sixth, the
is.
sixth value. Yeah,
To be honest, yeah, that should be. Yeah, that is a Canadian value. I mean, we do line acknowledgement everywhere.
we do. We do. So yeah. So they took the polls. So where immigrants rank. So immigrants who were 13 years or older at arrival. So this was kind of they didn't interview children, right? They had the highest perception of shared values, like across the board. They were just like, yeah, human rights, way up here. Yeah, respect for the law, way up here. Gender equality, yeah. Indigenous culture, yes. But when you look at the chart and you see Canadian more people, they're
The lowest.
much lower. Surprise. Which again, this whole thing for like Canadian values is very fascinating to me because I honestly don't know that Canadian born people know what a value of Canada in this list is.
This statistic shows that actually is the immigrant who upholds the Canadian value, not the
Oh,
Canadian itself.
snap. Snap. I am
No,
double finger clapping. Yes, yes,
it's
it's
actually an
true.
immigrant who upholds the Canadian value.
It's
So the
true.
question that you mentioned previously before that,
Yeah.
we have to screen immigrants to make sure they have agree on the Canadian value. Actually, it's the opposite. We have to screen the Canadian
We
that are born
should.
here to
Yes,
make sure they
yes.
yeah.
That's
I
what
will
the
kick them
government,
out.
yeah, yeah. That's what the government should pour some money into and some Canadian value training, just some kind of like workshops and have a Canadian value agency, like a settlement agency. What was interesting was that for the value of like respecting Indigenous culture, and I am not surprised by this at all. I'm actually really disappointed. But the amount of respondents who rank that as a high value, immigrants were at 41.8%, and Canadian born people were at 17.5%. Like
Ooh.
almost double. Do immigrants actually have a high regard for Indigenous values, rights, and cultures?
Is
Because,
is more than double.
yeah, it's more than double. Exactly.
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 Ooh.
So all that to say, those are the government of Canada's values.
That
They,
the stats
so
that they
the
released,
stats,
yeah.
yes. What's interesting, and I just want to point this out because there was another study, because I feel like what is it that shapes our understanding of kind of these values or even like perceptions of immigrants? So there was a really good article that came out this year through the Center for Growth and Opportunity Research. And it was a literature review on evolving attitudes towards immigration in Canada between 1988 and 2019. And they actually showed that political influence was the highest contributor for the way that people perceived immigration.
Ooh,
So
political influence. So
political
like
influence.
so
Mhm.
maybe like debates in the TV or
The person
what
on
the
your
pol
team, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the biggest one, which is interesting because, we look at Trudeau's in power right now, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
study was also done under his term. And so you see the ways in which like there is we do appreciate immigrants.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, okay, but the values kind of get lost a little bit. But you can see how just his posture with like Syrian refugees, Ukrainian, we won't even touch Palestinian refugees because we know exactly Canada does not care completely
Yeah.
about Palestinians, or most African countries, to be quite honest. This was not a surprise to me, but that Christian religions actually show the least support for immigration.
Oh.
And white immigrants have higher favor of immigration than white Canadian born people
Because they're immigrants.
because they're immigrants. They know the cost of home. They know and they
How
understand the
difficult it is.
struggle of identity
Yeah,
and belonging. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So those two things, I think weighing those two things really shapes really kind of how the landscape of Canada is right now towards immigration, but also
Mm-hmm.
around these values. Like it's obvious that, like you said, immigrants know more about these values and care more about these values than Canadian born people. Because I don't think,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, if you were born and raised in the same country, you would actually have an understanding unless you were a very curious person and you really you really cared and you had a collective mindset, but otherwise no, you're kind of just my value to wave my flag and to have my own job and just to have everything the same. I feel like those are the values for a lot of at least conservative Canadian born people.
I mean, I kind of sees that though. Like, I think, like, I'm just reflecting on my own
Yeah.
immigration journey. Like, I moved to many countries, not many, but some countries. I
Mhm.
moved to many cities in the world, and sometimes even I really ask myself why I chose these places, and like, I'm not gonna go to certain countries because maybe they don't have enough gay rights for me, or they don't uphold multiculturalism as a value, right?
Mhm.
I choose Canada. One of the reasons definitely is because that it sells the idea of multiculturalism and
The value,
the value of equal
dare I
rights.
say. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the reason I didn't stay in Australia is because I didn't feel like they have gender equality or sexuality equality. That's why I left as well, right?
Mhm. Right. Yeah. And
So
same
I
with the
think
United States.
Yeah, same. Say that's why also I didn't stay in the States either.
Fair, fair. Yeah.
So I think immigrant in general, I would say, I mean, I'm being very general here, that
Sure.
they only want immigrant to a country because in the bigger picture, this country have to have something that they agree upon, that they would
Yes.
like to be part of, to go to, right? So
Yes.
this question of immigrant should always just screen immigrant that believes, Canadian values stuff is, I personally think, is not built on any solid, evident
No,
ground.
no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. It's kind of condescending.
He is a little bit condescending. You're absolutely right.
Because an immigrant can really move anywhere if there's job opportunities, right? You could. You could.
You
I
could,
mean,
you could, you
I,
really could.
it makes it hard depending on what country you're coming from, what country you want to immigrate to. I get that. But at the same time, like people don't immigrate here because they want to, I'm so tired of women being equal. I'm going to move to Canada and ruin it for everyone. You know what I mean? Like no one's
Yeah.
doing that. People are coming to Canada and upholding these things because they know that
Oh,
life
I want that.
and
Yeah.
that opportunity and just that sense of identity and belonging and safety is so important to them. And they will do their
Mm-hmm.
best to protect it. Now,
Mm-hmm,
again, this is a
mm-hmm,
generalized. I'm not saying everyone's perfect. There are
mm-hmm,
people
mm-hmm.
who, will break the law. I've broken the law. I held up a cell phone at a stoplight, and I got a ticket. So, I haven't respected the law. That's a value that I could work on, Andrea. But honestly, people are not coming here for anything. I would say they're coming here more for those values than they are for anything else.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. I also like the point that you point out about like how political influence is like the
Hmm.
contributing factor of
Yeah.
immigrants, how immigrant buy in this or believe in this Canadian value. And I can
Hmm.
kind of totally see as well.
Yeah,
And because I
for sure.
think once you become an immigrant, you're definitely more in tune of the political where it's going because again, your legal status here is influenced by that. So you kind of
Totally.
closely look into, okay, what is the like immigration policy right now? Which party is
Yes.
there? Is this party
Yes.
favor immigration or not favor immigration? So you kind
Hmm.
of like whatever message this party is coming out, you're like, closely look
Hmm.
into it. So
For
you definitely
sure.
maybe more subject to influence because you look so close to it.
You do, because you are also considering maybe your family or your friends who also want to come here. So you are, yeah, like you said, your status is very delicate. It is on something that is held by some suits in an office, and you better believe that
Hmm.
you're going to pay attention because you could get the news that like, oh, sorry, you got to leave. I know you're
Yeah,
legally here, but we're removing everyone. They
I
did it
know,
before,
like.
they can do it again.
I mean, they just did it not long ago. They just cut some programs, remember?
Oh,
They
right.
cut some
Yes, they
immigration
did.
programs a couple months
They
ago, and
did.
then some people have to
Hmm.
leave.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that is happening, baby.
It
It's not
is. It
hypothetical.
is. No, no. So I mean, all this to say, I mean, I guess we should just have more immigrants run for office. Is that what you're saying? I think so.
I
I
would
think that's
love
what it should be
that.
like. Yeah, yeah.
I would love that, and people should. We haven't have like an immigrant, um, like a party
Political.
leader,
Ooh, we
political
should.
leader.
Ooh,
No,
I'd love
all of them
that.
are born and raised here. We should have
That's
like an
true.
immigrant. Yes.
We should. We should.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
And also, in light of all this thing we discussed, I also want to like kind of talk about this idea because I think this question about like screening immigrant to
yeah.
make sure they share common Canadian value
Hmm.
is I understand that it might be built on a legit concern to like what if people who comes in our country does not want to share the basic value that we uphold, the fundamental value that we uphold. What if these people
Hmm.
comes in here, which is gonna create chaos,
Hmm.
And I kind of, understand that kind of concern, even though as data shows, that's not what's happening. Again, immigrant
So much data.
actually the one who upholds the so-called Canadian standard, upholds Canadian value. Um,
Hmm.
but this idea of we want to have people that in the same country with us that share our value is understandable.
Hmm.
And I also want to introduce this idea, this philosophy theory called
Ooh.
cosmopolitanism with
Mm.
everyone who kind of also touch on this kind of concept about how we can all come together as like a society.
Yeah.
Cosmopolitanism is mostly focused on like how we can come together as like global citizens, like how
Okay.
we can believe like see beyond borders and
Mm,
everyone just come together and talk about and share something together and build on each other and
mm-hmm.
rather than become very these like anti-nationalists.
Mm,
That's kind of what
mm-hmm.
cosmopolitanism is. But of course, a fundamental thing about cosmopolitanism is this shared value. We have to have some sort of foundation for us to come
Sure.
together. Because if we have
Sure.
there's no sameness that connects us, we can't come together, obviously.
Sure. Sure.
So part of this importance of cosmopolitanism is we have to discuss and know what connects us, what we all share.
Okay. Yeah.
Input in today's episode concept is this so-called Canadian value,
Mm-hmm.
what we all share and we agree upon.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Yeah. And then on top of that, then we can talk about differences and then we can respect each other differences. And again, even the Canadian value, one of them we discuss is about the multiculturalism, right?
Right.
Is what we all differently bring on the table,
Mm-hmm.
which we all have to respect and celebrate in some ways.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's kind of the
yeah,
framework
go
of it.
ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that's the framework of
Yeah.
cosmopolitanism.
Well, and I think that is important. I feel like in some ways, I understand that there, like you said, there is a need to kind of define what is something that we all share, something that we're going to build upon, that we're going
Mm-hmm.
to all agree that this is
Mm-hmm.
important, and I always like to think that, well, it's, health in the pursuit of happiness in some ways that's kind of like a shared understanding that we're all healthy and that we all share happiness. But like happiness is such a, it can be a vague term. Um,
Yeah.
but you're right. I mean, without something to bring us together, and this is with any relationship, you meet someone and you find something you have maybe in common and you build that friendship and relationship off that person based on maybe that one commonality, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and yet I also feel like there is enough of these values coming from all over the globe, from the global
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
majority, that it
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
shared and understood, that you don't have to screen. Like, I'm just waiting for news articles for all of these like immigrants who are just, I don't know, going against all of these values. Sure, there's a few, but I don't see why screening someone for something that is already shared is necessary. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit of fear of difference, right? It's,
Mm-hmm.
like in many ways, it's the social identity theory. It's like us versus them. This is our in group. That's the out group. We're not sure about that out group. We don't know what they think, how they feel. I don't know if it aligns with but we're just not going to talk to them because we're just afraid and it's just awkward and it's just different, And
Mm-hmm.
so I can see where that fear really, stalls us from seeing our shared humanity and our shared values that I honestly feel like we all have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you think.
No, I agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
I think also there's a lot of kind of stereotyped. I think a lot of people also think, oh, if you are an immigrant from like a generally conservative country, then you must not share our common value on, like, for example, gender equality
Right.
or gay rights. You
Right.
must not share any of that because you're from a conservative country. But
Hmm.
again, that is such a biased thinking and
It
such a
is.
misconcept as well. Maybe have you ever thought of like they move here maybe because they do not believe in this so-called conservative value. That's why they move here. Have you ever thought of
Correct.
that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think allowing our biases to influence our judgment, sometimes
Hmm.
that's maybe one of the reason
Yeah.
that why people having this kind of idea or immigrants are just not believing or sharing our common values.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, nah, that's definitely not true.
No, it's not true. There's biases, but then even like political parties and influence, people who are making decisions from the desk and not from the ground, right? They're not on the
Mm-hmm.
ground necessarily engaging with people from different countries. They're not at the airport meeting new arrivals, you know what I mean? Like it's maybe for a photo op, but then that's it. And then So with all that influence, with all these biases, yeah, I think that there are things that definitely shape the way that we see other people and inhibit the way we see people. Because honestly, if we aren't willing to recognize that other people actually can share those values, then we are actually going to ruin those values. If we
True.
don't, right? If we're not open to the fact that there is ethnic and cultural diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and if we've never explored that and are curious about that, well, then we've just violated, one of the values. We've just said that that value really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So,
Also,
yeah,
yeah, also one more thing is like this kind of Canadian value is always like a work in progress too. Like it's not like literally like a set thing. This so-called Canadian value is a vague in many ways, like up and down. It depends where, when and where you look into it. For example, gender equality. Have we actually achieved gender equality? Meaning, if you ask me 10 years ago, 10 years now, we're definitely better. But are we there yet even 10 years now? Like right now, not
exactly.
really either.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Or
Hmm.
acknowledging Indigenous culture. Like
Right.
we are still working on it.
Yeah,
And so this whole Canadian value is still in a work in progress. It's just different level of it, different that is a range
for
of that
sure.
we are talking about.
For
And
sure.
you have to also allow people like the immigrant who come in 20 years ago and the immigrant who come in today, also in general, how the world stage is changing. They also maybe have different mindset in terms of the same value that you talk about. That people coming
Yes.
here 20 years ago, how they think about gender, and that people coming right now, how they think about gender, they will have
Completely.
it will be different. You know,
Completely.
I mean, gender theory itself also evolved so much in the past
Right.
20 years as well,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's it's such an evolving topic too. We
It
can't
is.
like set such a dead bar and then think people just have to be there.
Right. When
It's not
it is a
possible.
journey.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was just thinking like when Sir John A. Macdonald was here, none of these values would have been a value for the colonizers when they decided to quote unquote find Canada and declare it a country. None of these values
Exactly.
existed. And now we've got what, six? And so, yeah, absolutely. It's a relationship and it evolves and it takes time and it's a journey and there is no arrival. That's also the question I have for these survey folks is kind of like, well, what's the bar that you've met the shared value that you,
Yeah.
I don't know, that you
How can you
identify?
screen?
I don't, how do you,
Yeah.
exactly. Do you
How
believe? Well, come
do
on.
do you believe in life after
Do you
love?
believe in Canadian values? I'm gonna tell you
Um,
that there's six of them and you already have them. Whoa, oh, 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 oh.
okay,
Anyway.
share work.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I don't know. Were there any papers that we signed when we came to Canada that we said we would like obey the law and stuff? I'm just trying to
Oh
remember.
yeah, I think that's an oath. We have to like an oath that
Like
about.
initially when we immigrated?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I don't
remember signing
know.
anything. Oh my God, obey the law. I uphold
I'm like, no, of
the
course.
queen. Like I don't think I did any of that. I mean the oath I did say, oh I
For
will, I don't know,
citizenship.
put
Yeah.
yeah, for instance maybe protect the country or like for the king or something.
Well, and what's interesting is the question was phrased, we should ensure immigrants slash permanent residents coming to Canada to share common Canadian values. So it's not even new citizens. It's like immigrants and PR people.
Or that question also assume like current citizens already share those values, where
Oh, right. Oh,
which our
okay.
data, which is published by
Yeah.
Canada, government
Hmm.
Canada, shows that even mostly is the current citizen does
Yes. No,
not
that's true.
share
That's
those
true.
values. That's the
Yes.
funny
Yes.
part.
It is funny. It is funny. Gosh. I mean,
Ooh.
yeah, I don't know where to like this is just it's just an interesting topic to have a conversation about because I feel
Hmm.
like it could come up with conversations that you might have at work or with your neighbor or even your conservative family members that just kind of like, well, they need to share our values and it's kind of like it's a good thing to ask like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, let's talk
What is the
about it.
value?
What is,
Hmm.
you might value things, that person might value individual things. Is that a shared Canadian value? whip out the stats sheet and show them, well, these are the Canadian values, Dad. You know, these are, do we share those or do we not? And if someone
Exactly.
doesn't, does that mean they shouldn't come?
I agree. Also, like, if this like, let's say son asks the dad, I think the son will have a different set of value and than the dads. There might some
Sure.
value might overlap, but
Generational.
this generationally, I believe this also they believe a different value what the so-called Canadians should have,
Yeah.
right? And that also is if they really talk about it, then they will also will realize, well, even between us, we can have like a set value. Then how
Even
can
though,
we
yeah,
use it as a standard to measure anyone?
exactly. Yeah.
You
So
know?
it's, I mean, the words are very, I don't know, they're very loose and open. They're not rigid. You know, I feel like sometimes it's a throwaway statement just to like reject someone. Like, oh, they don't
I
share my
agree.
values. They don't share Canadian values, so I don't want to have anything to do with them.
Yeah, just
Okay.
like a famous philosopher once said, haters gonna hate, hate, hate.
Oh, I know this one. Is it Taylor Swift?
Yes, you're right. It's
For those of you listening, I actually got it wrong the last time. I was like, oh, philosopher, poet, who's that? And Ocean said Taylor Swift. You got to be kidding me, you old woman. I wasn't kidding.
it was a joke. It
It
was a joke.
was, yes, yeah. So,
Haters gonna
but
hate, so haters gonna find all the excuse to like
they
not
are.
welcome immigrant, you
They
know.
are. They are. But I think if we pursue a cosmopolitanism kind of idea that like we actually can come together, we can be friends and family and global citizens, we can share all of this no matter where we live, it would actually do us a much better service to
I agree.
humanity. Yeah.
If we all believe in cosmopolitanism, then there's no immigrant. Could you see the globe as a one unit? None of us are
Snap.
immigrant. We're just
Mm.
moving to different places. There's no
Yeah.
border, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
And I wish someday that is what the world is,
Me
that
too.
none of us can be labeled as immigrants.
Mm.
You know,
Wow,
we're just
Ocean.
one big harmonious society that we, you
Yeah.
know, that we have some base
Just people.
foundation. Yeah, just people. There's some share some basic values that to respect and love one another, like you
Yeah.
love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and we respect any differences that's built on, you know, that base.
Mm. I love that's beautiful. That's
And that's
beautiful.
where we leave.
Yes, that's where we'll leave. Although I will say, anytime I hear cosmopolitanism, I think of Cosmopolitan the magazine. So
Not
maybe
drink.
no, but that's another good one. And then ice cream.
Yes.
All of these beautiful things about cosmopolitanism is definitely something because we can have that world that you just described so beautifully while eating
Yeah.
ice cream, reading our
And having a
Cosmopolitan
drink.
magazine, and having a drink. Oh, that is paradise, my friend. That is
That is
paradise.
the dream.
That is the dream. That's the shared value.
That should be the share value.
That should be. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm writing Sets Canada tomorrow. New survey. Go. Great. Well, thank you, Hoshin. I mean, yeah, it's really, really good. It's good to have these conversations because I feel like, you know, it is in our face and it is something we hear. And yeah, it's just good to understand.
Yeah. And thank you, Andrea, for also
Yeah.
doing the homework, give us all that stats.
Of
Thank you so
course.
much. You
You're
are so
welcome.
bright. Yeah, you are so
Likewise.
bright. We
There's a
love that.
few light bulbs. Yes. So
But now we go to
yes.
Canadian salad pop quiz.
Yes, we will. Hoshin, I feel like maybe you should go first, my love.
Oh, okay.
We'll see
No
how well
problem.
this light bulb is on. I'm gonna turn it on. Okay, it's on.
Mhm.
It's on.
So, in what year did Canada allowed dual citizenship?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I should know this. Was it 1972?
Very close. Oh my God.
Really?
Very close. Very close. It's 1977.
Oh my gosh, I was totally guessing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
1977. Thank you.
It was actually like some changes. So it was allowed before 1947. So actually there's
Oh.
something happened between 1947 to 1977. They restricted dual citizenship.
Oh, World War
So
II
before
probably.
Yeah, so before 1947, they actually allowed it, and then they stopped it, and then they allowed it again after 1977. So
Interesting.
So we use 97.7 as a timeline because, that's the time that we
We
allowed
made it
it.
official again.
Official,
It was like
yeah.
it was
Because
like a little
before,
test. We're like,
yeah.
how is this?
Because
No,
before.
pull it back, pull it back.
So
Interesting.
yes, you are
Interesting.
right. Oh,
Okay.
am I not right? Am I
Close.
close? Good
Close.
job.
5 years off. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Finger
you.
clap, finger clap.
All right, my love. So I referenced that previous study from the Center for Growth and Opportunity Research, and I mentioned that Christian religions show the least support for immigration. My question to you is, my love, which groups of people, with which faith groups are the most supportive of immigration?
Muslim, Islamic.
Yes, and
And
so Muslims, yes, they are the most supportive. So people, yes, Muslim, yes, but
Hinduism.
no, at least according to this lit review. No,
Buddhism.
what's your belief?
Atheists.
Yes. So
Atheists? That doesn't count.
yes.
We're not a religion. We don't believe in any religion.
No, right, but you still, that's a belief. Anyway, but we semantics. I know. Okay.
Semantics.
So Muslims, yes, are the most supportive of immigration, but also Jewish people, atheists,
Jewish, right.
and agnostics. So
agnostic. I didn't. I was definitely would not think about the agnostics or even the Jews. My apologies.
Yeah. So all of these Christians, come on, man. Come on. Your person's talking. I don't understand you all. I don't. Anyway. Well, I'm going to go have a Cosmo. I'm going to dream about a cosmopolitan.
But the funny thing is, Jesus also should consider as an immigrant because Jesus from Middle East.
This is my beef. Like the tenants of Jesus were very inclusive. They were very much like, peace and love. Yeah. Just welcome your neighbor.
Jesus is an immigrant.
Turn your cheek, and like just the rhetoric from most loud Christian circles are just like, no, you don't like the immigrants.
But Jesus,
I'm kidding. You don't know Jesus. I know. He was a refugee, actually. Yes.
I mean, the Bible mentioned all kinds of people. You know what kind of people is not in the Bible?
White Europeans.
Yeah, white people is not in Bible.
There are no white people there. Sorry. Oh, darn. Oh gosh, it's so true. Anyway, well, thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy a cosmopolitan while reading your cosmopolitan, while having some cosmopolitan ice cream, and just think of this world as a giant, big, wonderful place that we can all create. Because it's not only just a Canadian value, it's a human value too.
I agree. We all need to love and respect each other, okay?
Yes,
Equality should be really widely shared, no matter which corner, even you're, the penguin, in the South Pole.
Go Penguins. That was random.
I mean, penguins had famously have gay relationships, so I think they upholds human rights.
Go Penguins. I love penguins. They're the best.
The penguins love their gay, sisters and brothers.
Be a penguin. That's our show. Yes. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and please sign up for our newsletter. You can get firsthand dibs on topics we're going to talk about. You can share your thoughts about topics you want to hear about, and you can just stay in touch with Hostion and I, because we love our listeners. We love people out there who love us and believe in us. So
I know.
That's on our website.
Really nice to talk to.
We really are, yes. CanadianSalad.ca is our website, and we are also on TikTok and Instagram. Canadian Salad.
Canadian Salad.
That's right. Canadian Salad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a value of Canada.
It's
Canadian
a value.
Salad.
Yeah,
that's gonna be one of the future values. Ooh,
yes. Finger clap.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
See you next week.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hostion and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avityan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Janklin production.